Hello to all. Good morning, good afternoon, good night. I don't know where are you connecting from today. So we are having this discussion, conversation with Chris today. Thank you, Chris, for accepting this invitation to be talking in this show. I am very happy that we have Chris today because he's going to be telling us a little bit about his story and also some of the things that he's creating now. That it's amazing. So I am really grateful, Chris, to have you here with me today.
Yeah, I'm excited. It's great to see you here from New York. It's I love this technology how we can just broadcast out there anywhere, no matter where we are in the world. It's awesome.
Yeah, that's amazing. I am here in Mexico, so the idea here is going to be talking about first the believing yourself. That part is about. I want to know a little bit about who Chris was when you were a kid, when you were a teenager. That so that give us like the idea of where are you coming from and how you become the person that you are right now. So let's start with who you were.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate that. I grew up in a family to go way back when. I could go way back, but I'll start here. I grew up in a family where my two parents. I appreciate everything they've done for us. I think what happens as you go through life. There's a saying out there: life is lived forward and understood backwards. And as a kid, there were things that I remember going through that I was like, I'm never going to do this with my kids. I'm never going to have this happen. And fast forward, you become that adult with the responsibility and you have children and you're like, oh, there was a lot of wisdom that my parents had and things. So I never look back on things that I like. As I speak through this, things that I might have said at the time when I was younger, I'm going to share a little bit of that went through my head. Now looking forward, I probably would have had a different attitude as a younger kid if I knew what I knew now. So my parents, they both did everything they could to put food on the table. They were out there. My father worked for the utility company and he was always out doing that. And then my mother was a homemaker. And one thing we grew up with was not a lot of money. That was just part of our journey in life. And, that was something that I wanted to change for my family going forward. I remember when I was younger, always just always trying to find ways to create something so we could have something that my parents technically couldn't afford at the time. Now they always had food on the table for us. We had a roof over our head, everything like that. We never had those kind of issues, but extra vacations, going and doing extra things always involved some work. So it was always creative and finding ways to making some extra income. And I always remember helping my parents out, like, hey, here's a couple $100 I made. Let's go do something. And I believe that was something that put a strong work ethic in me when I was younger. But it was also something as time evolved that I was determined to really just shift that perspective and find ways to do things different than my parents did. My parents went to school, got the grades, did that whole thing. We don't need to repeat how that all works. And not that I didn't do that, but when I got in that situation, I wanted to make some shifts. So I actually, at the age of 14, had a strong work ethic and I went and worked at the local Dairy Queen. And this was a very defining moment for me. That Dairy Queen, I ended up working through college there, ended up managing that Dairy Queen. But what really happened there was the owner of that Dairy Queen was just your true entrepreneur. And I really grasped to a few things. First, I was a very shy person and I saw how much he served people, how he loved to help people. He was always there for them. And that was something that got me out of a shell over time. This shy kid comes into a Dairy Queen, and next thing you know, I'm putting smiles on people's faces each and every day. And then I saw how he interacted with those that came in the Dairy Queen. And it just really lifted me up to a different level where I knew at some point, now I never knew how, I wanted to own a business that helped people. Never knew what that would look like. And continued onward, got through college, got one of those degree things in marketing, and learned a lot. Never going to deny that. I was one of those people that it took, let's just say, a few extra years to get through a 4-year degree because I was figuring out life at the time. I didn't know where I really wanted to hone in on. And then I had an opportunity to go work for International Paper Company. And it was very quickly in there that I realized it wasn't for me. After about 18 months, I wanted to go from I was in a general business marketing position, very low entry, and I wanted to go into sales. And I never forget them saying, oh, this is great. You can go back to school, get your master's degree, and here's what that roadmap looks like. And Alejandro, I heard those words, how the map looked. I was 24, maybe 23 at the time. And the map put me in sales with International Paper Company with a master's degree by 32. I was like,
Wow.
I was like, Really? So go back into more debt, go through this whole process, and then you'll put me in a program that puts me into sales. So the light bulb went off, and I started going on a recruiting mission. And back in the day, faxed out I don't know how many resumes looking for an entry level sales position, and I found one. I found one in an inside position. And way back in the day, I started in the audio conferencing industry, so bringing people together on a telephone. Now this goes way back into the 90s, and I got in there, had some really good mentors, and I got around good people that taught me how to bring value to people, and I just was determined to learn what I needed to learn. I was very coachable. Within a year, was promoted to an outside rep. Within another year, was recruited by another company to go launch a video conferencing based company. And this is when video conferencing was not how you and I are doing this waving thing here. It was more when we had this conversation, it was 3 minutes later that the wave came back and the cardinal sounds. But that's really where I started. And what I loved about that whole time, when I look at my history and what I'm doing now, I noticed something really key, that community was part of everything I did. Because part of video conferencing was, how do you bring these companies together and the community and the culture they're creating? So it kind of, like, as you get to know me more through this conversation, it parlays a lot into what I'm doing right now. And one thing I didn't mention in the process, I'm a competitive cyclist. So there's a lot of drive in there. And that also helped me really focus and hone in on who Chris wanted to become. And it was another significant moment in my life. The two were going into the Dairy Queen and working for an entrepreneur and seeing how he served people, and then putting that in my heart. And then the second was when I started racing bikes, because I blew my knee out at 18 years old playing ice hockey, and I had a rehab to go ride a bike. And long story short, did my first bike race and won it. It put something in me that I didn't have in life, which was belief, because I was called beanbag growing up. I was always made fun of. I was one of those outsider kids, rejected by every woman that I ever asked out in life when I was younger, which I'm grateful, because I married an amazing woman because of that. But fast forward, that bike put such a foundation in me and taught me so much about what I'm capable of, how to rely on my own strengths, and how to use those strengths to the benefit of others and not let them overwhelm others. So I really am grateful that I did find that bike one day. And as we go through this story, I'll tell you a little bit more about this this that you see back here. We'll get into that. Remind me the story about what that race was. So
Okay.
there you go. There's a quick intro for you.
No, it was like really a lot. A
It
lot of
was,
the
yeah.
things that you were saying. That's amazing. So let's go a little bit with the struggles that you have, like more deeply, because, for example, you were talking about like when you wanted to talk with some girls and nobody was listening to you, and also the part on the bike, like, okay, you are a biker that you love to do biking, but or cycling, and suddenly you have your knee. So go deeper on those areas, but more in the struggle, like, okay, what happened at that moment, how you started to feel at that moment. So you start to see like, no, I am never going to take a bike, or I am not never going to talk with a woman because they are not believing in myself. That part, to start to feel like, okay, what was your feeling, what was like yourself at that moment.
I think a lot of us, everybody has a different story about growing up through high school and the things that we deal with. And, now having children that are dealing with that, you try to tell them, hey, none of this stuff's really going to mean anything when you get older. I mean, that's just the reality. And it's easy for us as adults to say that. But as parents, and watching your children go through things and knowing what was like going through my mind when I was that age, and versus now, like, you have all these social media apps and all that just accelerate everything.
Yeah.
Looking back, I'm absolutely grateful that those situations always happen, because I took a career path in sales. And let's just be real, sales is you got to be thick skinned to be in sales, and there's a lot of rejection in sales. And I always like to say, you know what, all those women that said no when I was younger, they just prepared me for my future, because you hear the word a lot, no, in sales, and that's fine. There's a lot of reasons for that, but you have to have thick skin to hear that word. So I'm very grateful for that. At the time, yeah, I mean, I was a heavier child, so they called me beanbag. So I had multiple things that I dealt with growing
Uh,
up. Not. not have like always getting rejected by women. I don't want to make it sound that bad, but it was anytime I asked somebody to a prom or a date or a movie, it's just like no, no, no. It's not like I didn't have women, young women friends and all that, but it was just that kind of scenario. And then being called beanbag all the time, like the psychology things that does for you. When I was in high school, what did I weigh? I think I weighed like 215 at 215, 220. Fast forward, get on a bike, and I go down to 170. And now people, they call me string bean. So it's just like such a dynamic. But those two factors really had me come to a point in life when I got on that bike, Alejandro, and I really started realizing what that simple machine was teaching me about life and how life works and who Chris really is, and how being around a Peloton, that's what I call the community. If you know anything about cycling, how we get forward together faster and how you build true relationships. It really was just a minor bump in life to really prepare me for who I was meant to become, and still am becoming, right? We're always on that journey.
No, that's completely true, and that's why I was asking you, because okay, those things, like, you have to overcome them, and some people is like, okay, they take like forever to overcome those things. And one of the my ideas of this show is really to say, like, okay, Chris is the challenge champion. He's changing a lot of people. He's working with a lot of people and helping them create like communities that thrive and create like amazing things. But he was not that person all the time. He
No.
was the beanbag. Uh, like a lot of years ago, he was the guy that everybody rejected. So it's like coming from that world, like, you can say, like, nobody care about you or nobody wanted to be with you, and suddenly everybody wants to be with you. So there was a process that started to come in your life, like, wow, from a beanbag to becoming a challenge champion that is helping create communities that thrive and help you, and that they're being nurtured by you and they want to be with you, not only like, yeah, another community in the Facebook or another community in the online world. No, it's a community that I know that in your side wants to be with you and want to learn from you and want to help others around you.
Yeah, it's kind of, in a lot of respects, you don't forget that, and it gives you a heart for people, because I see, like, even with my kids, it's so easy to judge people in this world, right? It is. I mean, it's just human nature. And it was something that as I grew up, I broke that for myself, because I knew how I was judged and I knew what that felt like. It hurt. And it was like, man, you don't understand. You don't under, but reality is most people don't care to understand. They just see something and they judge a book by a cover. And when I see people going through something, or have something that might define them, that most society would take as, oh my gosh, there's something wrong with this person, I actually have a heart for that person, because I remember what it felt like certain times in my life. Like, wow, I'm on this journey alone right now. This kind of sucks. Let's just be real. So it opened up more of a heart for me to never judge people, and be there for them. And as life evolved and some other trials and tribulations in the future, it gave me a deeper sense of purpose to get through those trials and those tribulations, because I knew, okay, this is just the next test on the journey. Now I'm going to learn something about myself, but also learn something deeper that I may never understand about people as I get through this scenario. So I think we're always breaking through to that next level. And it really comes down to, really, I mean, no pun on your show, but believing in yourself. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. And then getting around that right group of people, that community, that Peloton, as I call them, and having them help you get to that next level.
And what do you think help you, at least to in your side? Like, I know that you told us about your journey in the different jobs and different things that you were doing, but which one do you believe helped you? Like, okay, it was only the bike, or what was like the two or three things that you can say they helped me to stop thinking that I was only the big bag, but I am another thing much better than that.
So there was multiple, obviously working the Dairy Queen, that was a very significant foundation. The bike was another huge, huge, and to this day is still a huge, significant thing in my life that really always helps me learn more about myself. Even at this, in my upper 40s here, I still learn more on that bike than when I was younger. It's just crazy. The body's such an amazing thing and what it can teach you through a simple machine. And then what happened, let's go back to the answer on a third part. When I got into sales and I was very coachable that first year, and I had to grow a lot, a lot. But I had two good mentors who I just really respected them. And I was one of those people. I was in that office at 7 a.m. and I left every day at 5. And I sat around them and grasped everything I could to get me to the next level. When I saw that, what I at the time defined success at the time in my life, which is the financial rewards. Now, this is a younger Chris. I was like, whoa, that happened this year? It used to take me 3 years to make that kind of money, 4 kind of years. Like, I wasn't looking at the impact I was making on other people's lives at that time. I was looking at the impact to my pocketbook when I was a younger Chris. But then I go to another company and help launch a startup, had a little bit more experience. And then I started hearing how our video conferencing solution was helping them scale products that were changing lives or helping people do all these things. It started to really resonate to me how important the sales model was of serving others. And you're in a business of service when you're in sales, minus all the other things that come around it. So that was the next light bulb moment. And then as I got on that career, I had a lot of, yes, what I would consider great success when you look at it from a material standpoint, doing very well financially, achieving all these sales trips awards, being one of the top 2 of the company, the top revenue, those kind of things were awesome. But then there came the day when the one company I worked with, and I can't really make claims on things, but they released a product that did something very, very substantial in this world from a health standpoint. And the group that we worked with were doing all those conversations and all those lab tests and all the planning on over a 3-year window from our video conferencing technology. It was like that moment, like, holy cow, I actually contributed to something that's massive out there in a way. It might be simple, the technology connection, but it's because I took the time to pick up a phone one day and call a certain person in a company, build some relationship, go through their process. They decided on us. And it was our service that was collaborating all these people, which released a product that has changed, billions of lives by now. So it was just exciting to see, knowing that I was actually making a bigger impact without being part of something that really was doing that, but providing a solution to it.
Awesome. And I know that we're going to go to the part that what you are doing now and why you are doing that, but tell me about your map.
Oh, yeah. So check this out. So, I'm a cyclist, right? There we go. There's my bike. So I had a lifelong dream. It's called the Leadville 100. And, this is actually my parlay into entrepreneurship. I've always wanted to do it. It's the most iconic mountain bike race in North America. So in my early 40s, I really started I just was like, I'm going to get really fit for this thing. And I said to my wife, hey, there's never going to be a perfect time to do this. We have kids, this, that. But when the moment comes and I qualify, we're just going to go with the flow. So in 2017, I qualified for the race. I was basically a professional athlete that year. I was true cycling weight. I was another 12 pounds off where I am now. I was ridiculously fit at that moment. And I went all in, did the Leadville 100. So that's 104 miles because I lie about 4 of those miles with about 15,000 feet of climbing up in the high peaks of Colorado. It was the hardest thing I ever did in my life. Came into the top 20% for an East Coaster. That was an awesome day. But when I pedaled across that finish line and the kids were running with me, I knew right then, Alejandro, life going forward was about making an impact versus just making a living. And I went in on entrepreneurship, and we're closing in on 5 years on that journey now this year, which is awesome. So that is a very special thing to me in my life. I keep that there. It has the map of the whole trail, everything I did, and it's just it's something you'll never forget. And I always tell people I still live in Leadville, Colorado, even though I live in New York, because it's just a very special part in my heart.
Wow, that's really cool. And tell us about your why for the thing that you are doing now, because I know that you are helping a lot of people now with this. And so tell me a little bit more about that why.
Yeah, so it kind of started when I came out. I launched a company called Let's Make an Impact. And, everybody's just like, oh, you have to, the idea wasn't baked. It was just like, I love the name Let's Make an Impact because I knew I wanted to make an impact and I wanted it to be multiple people that come together to do that. So I didn't know where this was all going to lead at the time. So got the URL, got the LLC, did all that fun stuff, and just started going down a path. And what ended up happening as time went on, I realized, I was helping a lot of people with social selling, specifically using LinkedIn. And I really realized I didn't want to be, and I love LinkedIn. So I'm not saying this in a bad way. Anybody listening on LinkedIn, I didn't want to be known as the LinkedIn guy because everybody was coming to me, hey, you're the LinkedIn guy. And eventually I was like, I don't want to be the LinkedIn guy. I love LinkedIn. It's a great tool. It's the best place to meet people. You and I met each other through there,
Yeah.
but I don't want to be known for that. So I started realizing in 2020, building communities was critical. I've built one community before that. We, over a 5-year window, did over $1 billion in sales by a simple biohacking product because it was something I believed in, but we grew that community. And I built another community of CEOs and entrepreneurs in the time frame and saw that really grow and thrive. So it all clicked in 2020 when this world changed. I started doing challenges and I learned to really built a really amazing framework for challenges. And what really clicked right in front of my eyes was community. Community. Challenges give you that opportunity to bring your audience together, engage them, and then bring them on the journey with you going forward. It's a much deeper conversation, but I know you know what challenges are. And I started doing that, but I started seeing communities form in there and more communities. Everybody that would come through these challenges wanted to stay part of something. So the light bulb really went off as I started working with clients. And, now I'm helping build thriving communities for missions that matter because I believe each and every person has a mission within them. I was calling them movements from so long. Like you have a mission, right? You want to really take people to that next level to take that belief out of them. I work with clients who, they just have servant hearts for things that they've been through in life, Alejandro, that they know because of what they've mastered they can go help a specific people group. So we build these communities out using challenges, and then they start to thrive. And next thing you know, it comes into a system where you have an engaged audience, a funnel for your brand. And yes, revenue always follows that part of things, but it's all about being a servant. And that's truly what I love about the model, which goes way back to that entrepreneur in the Dairy Queen when I talked about, him being a servant leader.
And I know that not everybody understands what is a challenge. So let's start with that point, so people start to understand. Okay, community, great, but what the heck is challenge? Why he's talking about challenges? I have a lot of challenges in my life. I like, yeah. Are you talking about the challenge to start to have businesses or people that is buying from me, or what is a challenge?
It's funny because that's something I deal with a lot. Being the endurance guy, people come up to me and they're like, "Hey, you know what? What is a challenge? Like, of course you love challenges. You're an athlete, and that is a very true statement. They're in my DNA." But I actually did a little LinkedIn live on this yesterday. So when you look at what a challenge is, let me kind of take this into an easier program to understand. You hear 5-day challenges. I'm actually doing one, a community builder mastery challenge next month. But what a challenge is, it's just a simple process. You take people through on something that is very confusing to them potentially and make it very clear. That's the simple explanation. So I kind of talked about, I work with a lot of clients that have mastered something, right? So they take something they've mastered, they know it well, they explain it in very bite-sized pieces for others to gain a better understanding, and it literally takes people through their content because they're a subject matter expert in something. And it takes them through their content in little pieces. But what's amazing for the person doing this, Alejandro, is it gives them the authority of others seeing, wow, Chris really knows this stuff. Alejandro really knows this stuff. So to simplify it, one more definition. I try to give these 3 different ways. It's a step-by-step journey where you get to serve your ideal audience in short bursts. You bring them into your world where they digest your content. Who doesn't want them digesting your content? And then you implement components of it. And by the end of the process, that individual, that group of individuals in the challenge is in the exact spot you need them to be to work with you should decide to do that. It's such a win-win scenario.
Awesome. Yeah. So now you have the clear idea of what is a challenge. Of course, there is a lot of details, yeah, that you need to understand and go with Chris. He is doing these seminars and workshops to start to teach what is that. Tell us a little bit more of that. What are you doing? What have you seen until now out of these challenges and out of this community that you are creating?
Yeah. So, I mean, really, I kind of like to say my mission is to raise the bar for building thriving communities for missions that matter. You've heard me talk about that. So most of the kind of folks that I've been working with, I like to define them as subject matter experts. So, Alejandro, you're a subject matter expert in what you do. And what we do together is we help them grow their community. We keep their audience engaged while building a funnel for their brand. And we use the challenge model because challenges are such a great short burst that you can get people together into your world. But what happens afterwards, yes, people do upgrade into the programs, right? I can share all those stats. We're not going to get into all that right now here. Those things happen. But what happens to that people group who you just built relationship with and they want to stay engaged with you? You've put them into your systems. What do you do there? I've seen too many people who do nothing. And here I am going through my process because this challenge model changed my life around, where it was like, wow, I actually now have a simple system that is fun, it's engaging, and I keep this consistent. The revenue always follows. The community grows along the way. So what I'm doing is bringing people through this process, giving them all the framework, and we're working together closely over a 6 and 9 month window so that they have this entire system in place. So this is just like on autopilot. It's just part of their framework of what they do day in and day out. And, there's a lot of componentry behind the scenes on this because when you really look at the challenge model, there's a lot behind them. I know you've done a few on your own. If they're not well designed, if they're not like what I like to call micro burst wins and real simple to take people through, you're going to overwhelm people and lose them through the process. So I really work with clients on making sure that doesn't happen so that people are knocking on the door. I want to get in this challenge. This challenge is for me. This is exactly what I want. So that's kind of what we've been doing. We're having a lot of fun doing it.
Awesome. And what are the results that you have seen in your customers? Because I know that you have very good results, but in the people that you are working with?
Yeah, so I mean, it varies. Everybody's at a different phase when it comes to challenges. So for me, I don't want to give a blanket statement on that because I get it asked all the time. Everybody starts somewhere. So if you're just starting in online, you're going to get different. You're in what I like to call that let's get going, that growing phase. Then you have the middle group who's more in the scaling phase, and you have the other group who's more the influential phase. So I've worked with a few influencers who, yeah, they have 6-figure challenges. Boom, happens all the time because people always say, "What's the revenue? What's the revenue?" I will say, if that's your first mission with challenges, the model's not for you. The model is all about being a servant. Please write that down. That is a writer downer right there. If you are going to just say, I need to go get this much revenue out of these challenges, please don't go in the model because it's just going to be in that challenge and you're going to see no results. You got to focus on being a servant. And I can talk about that more. But when you look at like the starting group or the scaling group, when you look at the results, we see anywhere from
Hmm? I lose you.
that we walk people through. And yeah, we see 5-figure challenges all the time. Just to put some revenue definition behind it.
Yeah, yeah, I know. I agree. At the end, the idea is to nurture your people. That's one of the main reasons for the challenge. And with that nurture, and they can know. Oh, it seems we lose Chris. Let me see if he can join very quick. Oh, welcome back.
I don't know what happened there. Sorry about that.
No, don't worry. So, thank you, Chris, for this part because I believe it's amazing. What are how people can connect with you, how they can know more about this challenge, how they, what are the what you want to say to the people that are listening to this?
Yeah, I mean, it's real simple. The easiest place to find me is chriscolt360.com. You go there, you'll find me anywhere. That page goes anywhere. If you're on LinkedIn, I'm very active on LinkedIn, so you can find me there. On that chriscolt360.com page or my LinkedIn profile, you're going to see two things right now. Next week, I'm doing a masterclass. It's a free one. The 5 proven elements of running a successful challenge. I'm going to walk you through a deeper dive what I talked about today. Go register for that. That's at 12 Eastern next week on the 17th. And then in the week of this March 7th, that's my birthday week, I'm doing a community builder mastery challenge. We're going to walk you through all you need to do to start and launch your own community. And the bonus is I'm going to give you 2 days on how to build your own 5-day challenge. You can find that on my features section or chriscolt360.com. Or, if you're on LinkedIn right now, just reach out to me. I don't bite, and we'll have a conversation from there. But highly encourage you, if you want to see what I'm up to, what we're doing, those are the 2 easiest places to get a quick intro.
Okay, awesome, Chris. Really, thank you for sharing your knowledge, your trip, the thing that you are going through. And I know that we are going to be talking very soon with more things that you are doing and that we are doing together. So this is
Yes.
amazing.
This was awesome, Alejandro. Thank you for this invite. Truly appreciate it.
Do you want to leave like a last word or last thing that you want to say to the people that are listening to say goodbye? Okay, remember this only thing.
I'm going to say something. This is more from my endurance perspective of life. Endurance is going to teach you a lot of skills in life. So when you face new challenges, new obstacles, you try new things, the more you do that, the easier these things become and they start to stack over time. So anything, being an endurance athlete, when I get on a bike and people are like, how can you go ride 100 miles and not think about it? It's not because I don't think about it. It's because I put in all the work earlier. So wherever you are in your entrepreneurial journey, build a stable, solid foundation and always be working off that foundation so that your wheels start spinning really nice as you go forward and you get to a point that the momentum hits.
Awesome. Yeah, I agree 100%. All the entrepreneurship is a roller coaster, so having the endurance to do it, it's key.
Yeah.
And all the preparation and everything. So thank you for that. So thank you everybody to listening to us. Thank you, Chris. Again, it was amazing this conversation and see you next time.
Bye all.